Hello, I'm Meenakshi Shedde. I'm South Asia delegate to the Berlin Film Festival. We're here at the Berlin Film Festival with the wonderful film from Arjun Talwar called Letters from Wolf Street, a very, very, very unusual film because it's a personal documentary shot over 10 years in Poland and in Polish. Now, how did this ever happen and what was your response to its world premiere in Berlin?
So the film is about the street on which I was living in Poland, and it's a portrait of this street and the people who live there, but it's also a self-portrait, and it's about my relationship with my neighbors there and how it is to be an Indian immigrant in this place. It was very exciting when we found out we were going to be in the Berlinale. It was, we were super happy. And we had to rush to, actually finish things on time, post-production on time. And the world premiere was a couple of days ago in the cinema with about 700 people. And it was a full house. So that was, when you watch it with so many people, it's also like you're watching it for the first time because we'd only watched the film, with the crew or with one or two friends or something like that.
Sweet somewhere.
Exactly. And there's a lot of humor and jokes in the film, so also I was just like wondering, will people laugh or will they, how will they react? And there was a lot of giggling and laughter and stuff, so it was very good.
So lovely. So for us it's extraordinary. Tell us a little what the film is about.
It all takes place on this one street called Wolf Street, if you translate from Polish, Wilcza. And I emigrated to Poland to study in the film school there because they have this well-known in like Łódź, how they say in Polish, which actually has a lot of students from all over the world. And you have to study in Polish. It's Polish medium education. So I studied cinematography, at some point I felt like I just had this need to make this film about me and like the people who live around me, whom I felt were very eccentric and unusual, and also not usually appearing in Polish cinema. So
But did it start off as a film school exercise?
No, I had actually already graduated from film school at that point.
Okay.
It wasn't that. Yeah.
And for me, this kind of immigrant experience is really unusual because typically from India, so Arjun was originally based in New Delhi and is kind of there now, but our immigrants are usually either labor class or very high-end software high-tech guys in Silicon Valley, etc. This kind of artistic artistic immigration is relatively school, yes, but you also stayed on because you wanted to be an artist, right? Now this is so ultra cool. This idea is like beyond all our understanding. Please explain where that comes from. You moved to Poland to be an artist. Wow, please explain.
I mean, you can imagine, it depends what kind of,
How old were you when you went first?
I was 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had finished your graduation and other stuff there as mathematician, right?
But I had always, since I was a kid, wanted to do some kind of art, but also didn't know what exactly, and I didn't think it was realistic because people, how it is, tell you that to forget about such things.
So did the mathematics degree to get your parents off your back and let you do the thing?
I don't know, maybe kind of. I was also a little bit interested, but not that interested.
Yeah.
But at then some point, I had my best friend who was from Pune, and he kind of convinced me that he was also like this, electrical engineer, and also wanted to be something else.
Yeah.
So we thought we could just maybe, if we go somewhere new and somewhere strange, maybe that could actually work out.
So lovely.
So the film is came from this.
Lovely. There are so many elements in the film that appeal deeply. It's very, very, very funny. It's a comment on Poland, on its contradictions. It has many nuances that comment on what is a nation, what is nationality, what is patriotism. And really, it has a deep connection with the outliers of not in the mainstream of Polish society, a real empathy and a connection with them. Did these themes, because you shot it over a long period of time, right? So did these themes, were you clear about some themes you wanted to explore, or did a whole lot of it really emerge in the edit?
Um, I shot it over about 3.5 years, and it is like that in this kind of documentary, especially since there's also narration, my voice.
Yeah.
That'll
It's lovely to hear him speak Polish. I don't know why, I've not really heard Polish, but they seem to be in sometimes slight Indian accent and made it very charming, actually.
so it is a lot of it is constructed. Actually, in documentary in general, I think
Yeah.
the editors don't get a lot of credit because
Yeah.
very often they
It's-
create the film.
Yeah.
Directors often just gather material,
Yeah.
and the form is created at the editing table. And in
Tell
this,
us who your editor is.
yeah, so my editor is Binya Thompson, and she also together we wrote the narration. So that was also tricky because text and image, and it's always back and forth, and how to find the tone and make it about. It's also about serious things, but it's also supposed to be funny, and this
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
took quite some time. And yeah, as you said, a lot did happen in the editing.
Edit. I was curious about. I mean, the word nation and nationalism is kind of all kinds of strange connotations, especially in today's world. A lot of right-wing governments everywhere. And there's this incredibly powerful and loaded scene for me where there's a National Day celebration, an Independence Day thing, people marching in the streets. And Arjun is there among this huge crowd and asks a Polish guy, "Can I borrow your flag?" And he looks at you so strangely, like this weirdo, and he like gives it to him. And that moment is somehow very iconic. It's like a very poster moment. What did that moment mean to you to borrow a Polish flag at that point? Was it just a good image, or it was really way deeper, or you thought it was cool to have like constructed, or what?
So there's one scene in the film in which me and my sound recordist, who is a girl from China and also studied with me in the film school.
Called Mo, very charming lady. Yeah.
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 We go to this far right, extreme right parade in which they are like, Europe should be white and all these kind of chants and
graffiti saying Poland for Poles, etc.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pretty hardcore place
Yeah.
where you can get into trouble pretty easily.
Yeah.
But we also felt that it would be good to, have a kind of funny scene there, not go there and like
Yeah.
make it some kind of gloomy scene
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
But so then I had this idea that I would take this, this
Flag.
jhanda and
it was
like.
also very funny because I remember images of like Iwo Jima. I remember this iconic thing with the flag. But
Right.
you just made it so funny, right? It was the moment with the flag, but somehow in like a borrowed patriotism, was just so charming. And I always felt some of the great moments in cinema always without words, and that was like. Really
Thank you.
cleverly
Glad you
done.
liked it.
Lovely. But there was a moment when you talk about that he's beaten up by skinheads, and you're in a hospital or something with a horrible eye patch and looking quite devastated and still kind of grinning sillily somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there is this incredible line about that. The more they I forget the exact word, but it's kind of the more they hate you or detest you, the more you try to embrace Poland. You have to tell me the correct line because it was very eloquent.
Yeah, that's more or less what it was.
Tell me where that came from.
I mean, there's in the film there's a lot of these rebellious characters, like
Including yourself?
including myself, who are like, जो भी झेलना है वो
Yeah.
झेलेंगे,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that kind of
But
attitude.
That's more like a teen thing. I think that
Yeah.
it's a character streak for you. It's nothing to do with age. It's you.
Yeah, it's me, and it's also like kind of the language of the film. And so there was this, I mean, fortunately I did have a photo of this moment, and then like I'm also grinning there because like, I mean, okay, I got beaten up, but it wasn't that bad, like I had friends who got really like beaten up so badly that they might not have lived. So I was maybe just happy that I kind of scraped
so for
out
you, it
of.
wasn't really a judgment of which I find interesting. It wasn't a judgment of a society, but just some nutters who you could find in any society. You were able to see it in a larger perspective, and that didn't really affect your decision about staying or not. It never went to that level. It was just one more thing you had to deal with. Was it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I decided to come to Europe. I mean, that kind of stuff happens in Germany too, like, and I thought that, okay, like I have to,
Put up with it.
put up with it, but not necessarily. I don't necessarily feel like that anymore. But like I was younger, and I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But
And this question comes up repeatedly in your film, and of course, everyone has to ask you, why Poland? Like, there's a Polish guy who asked him, and he's like, what? You can go to England and France, but why Poland? He's himself appalled, kind of.
yeah.
So please explain it to audience why you chose Poland.
Yeah, it was on an impulse. There, I mean, I had some idea that the cinema was kind of good, or
What had you seen that you remember? Because it's a long journey, or you don't remember?
yeah, I mean,
Generally.
like what Polanski, Kieślowski, and some documentaries, and like nothing so rare or anything. But it was good. And then visiting the school, and also like it's also in a place where not much is happening. So then you're really very hardcore into the whole cinema thing, and you can rent movies and watch them on the print in the cinema by yourself if you want and stuff. And all of this really appealed to me.
Lovely.
But it was a hardcore town, so
Sure.
there were these two things.
I'm very fascinated because not that I've been to film school,
Yeah.
but how do you imagine? I mean, I'm sure you didn't study at another film school, but from what the traditional ways people receive wisdom about making cinema,
Yeah.
like in America or England or
Right.
something, this would be, I imagine, somehow quite different because of its own tradition or however they teach. How was it distinctive for you learning at a place like Woosh?
Obviously, you can't. The main advantages of film school, I think, is that you have all this equipment and you
Yeah.
have all this time. And if you have the luxury of not having to work to support yourself during this period, or not having to work too much, then you can just focus on that and do whatever you want and not feel like judged or whatever, and learn from people who are studying with you.
Yeah.
And that's the main advantage. And like what happens in classes is, like, I would say, a little bit less of important, but
Okay.
of course, like, you meet a lot of inspiring
Yeah.
professors.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And was Adi also a filmmaker with you in school, or he went to do something else?
So that the friend with whom
Yeah.
we went, no, that was the idea, but in the end he ended up doing a more abstract art.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So this is a kind of very poignant subtext in the film, which I won't tell you too much about. But Adi and he and his friend Adi actually kind of impulsively moved to Poland, and became a long-term trip for him to stay on. There were just very, very, very funny moments in the film, which everyone, I loved it. And I think towards the end, there is a very warm connection. I think it was quite unexpected for you. And I don't know if it was one of those gifts of destiny for filmmakers. And he runs into this Roma guy, a gypsy origin, who says, like, hail fellow, well met, I'm from India. We are from India. And then feels this sudden connection, which you didn't feel all along. And somebody in Poland treating him as like family. And this was really interesting me. It's kind of two outliers who find a connection between each other. And that was so beautiful. And some terribly, terribly funny sequence. Maybe I can just give you just a glimpse so that you are tempted to see the film. He tell us about the Bollywood wedding plan a bit. It is too funny.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't actually know this when I was in before I went to Europe, that Roma people. It's not.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say gypsy, but
Yeah.
gypsy people have Indian origin.
I mean, there's supposed to be links with Rajasthan, etc.
No,
but he says it's Indian.
No,
It's
it
clear.
is. It is clearly established, and the language is very North
links,
Indian.
okay.
It's very clear. Like,
Okay.
and it's strange because you go to the house and they use the same words, like the churi is churi,
Okay,
stuff
okay,
like
lovely,
that. And
lovely.
but they've never left their village in Poland,
Yeah.
And so he was very conscious of this, and his mother had told him that you're Indian, even though
So
they've been
lovely.
there for
And
1,000
what is
years.
the town? Tell us the name of this little town where he is.
It's a little town called Putusk, like middle of
Like
nowhere
in
town.
Poland, to find a connection to it. It's just damn funny and very charming. Yeah, tell us more.
And so then he was getting married, and he thought that like he could have like some kind of pagdi or something, and some Indian themed wedding, and so it was my duty to help him with this.
He got him this very Maganlal dress wala kind of full-on turban with little golden trimmings and pearl things, and people were just falling on their chairs laughing. I think in India we would be hysterical, which they were already here. But yeah, if he was kind of considering it as an alternative career until his film got, he's kind of joking about it. That's really funny. But tell me if you felt, I mean, this is a really funny way to get into a connection with the outliers in Polish society, but what did that relationship tell you, and what did it make you feel? The relationship with this family.
Yeah, I mean,
Roma guy.
it really made me feel like outsiders like gravitate towards each other because
Yeah.
like I think if you're Indian and stuff and you go to a place like Poland or even Germany or I don't know Netherlands or wherever, like you notice that it's a little bit harder to get close to people,
Yeah.
like to be invited to their homes, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen too
Easily.
quickly.
Mhm.
And like with these characters in my film who are all like on the fringes somehow,
Yeah.
they're all like the opposite,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that's also one of the ideas of the film, that like you should be mingling with your neighbors, and you
Yeah, yeah,
should
yeah.
kind of create a kind of community
Yeah.
with people around you.
Yeah. No, that was really, but it's also kind of comment on, I think, anomie and loneliness in a big city, and so many people are lonely, and it starts with, and I think ends with, I'm not sure, but he opens with a scene of the woman in the building opposite whose balcony, and she's always dusting out her sheets and stuff, and they say hello to each other, but in the street they don't pretend the other doesn't exist. It's very interesting, this kind of fleeting things which rarely lead to, I mean, I'm not generalizing, but it's what your film is commenting about. And in hindsight, when the audience responded, the kind of questions they asked, what was your feeling about? Did you feel that it really meant something to them?
Yeah, I mean, it was super positive. Like this is a very it was made with with a very small crew and everything. It's a very eccentric movie. Like it has a lot of different topics, a lot of different characters, and I couldn't really predict like if it was going to be interesting for people who were from other countries or from whatever far away and everything. So, and it was, and there's like so many people line up after the Q&A to ask more questions, and I mean, it's pretty overwhelming and really nice.
Lovely.
So
yesterday's King was really funny because there was a guy who talked about how hard it is to find a partner in a place like Poland or Europe. And then was he Indian? He said he started a dating coach. He became a dating coach, and I thought, oh my God, what is this profession?
it became a very strange conversation. Everyone was like, prodding into some personal issues of each other.
But this is the most weird or thrilling outcome of screening a film.
Yeah.
You discover in the audience that there's a dating coach who connects with this film in this way. It was very funny. But also I think, please, I was absolutely dazzled. I'm a very untechnical person, but please tell us a little more about this very sexy camera that he shot with, which I know nothing about, but it's called a digital Bolex, and it just sounds so cool because, as you can see, he's this very retro, and they called him Michael Jackson, all the guys in the street, with his hair and his retro whiskers and his retro
Meenakshi
jacket.
caught me on a very retro day.
I did. Can you show us that Bolex cut thing, that little logo? It is so
This is
cool.
a strange camera called.
Please tell us a little about it.
It's like it's a camera that's about 10-12 years old, and
Only?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's not a film camera, it's a digital Bolex.
Correct. But okay, because it's
It's
a
like-
combination of 10 12 years.
Okay, so it is.
But tell us
it's
what the Bolex is specially known for, because like audience.
So
know.
so like in film school we often shot on film, on 35mm, 16mm, and so Bolex is a 16mm
Right.
camera.
Right.
The classic one.
Yeah.
And so this camera was model fashioned after that, and
So
like
cool.
made also with this film look in mind. So that's what I shot it on.
But it's actually digital. But
Yes.
tell us how it affects the outcome of what you get to see on screen. Is that changed at all? Not. It's just a
It
cool thing in your head, or
no
it
no no
actually
it
affects?
it does, because it also, you can put like these very old lenses on it, so the film like has a
okay.
very vintage vibe.
Yes, yes.
Because of the colors
I
it
see.
makes, because of the like
The
you know, you put like 60-year-old lenses on it and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I did, it does give the whole film a kind of nostalgic
Yes.
kind of
Yes, hue.
haze,
Yeah.
which was the
Yeah.
idea also.
Very lovely, very lovely. You know, it's strange and a coincidence, but just a year back we had this exquisite film, And Towards Happy Alleys by Srimoy Singh, which was a film made by a Kolkata person who was studying at Jadavpur, who went to Iran to study Farsi because she loved Farsi poetry, and then stayed on and made this whole personal documentary as well. And then now we have yours. It's just a beautiful coincidence, no connection with each other at all. But it's very special to me because to me it really sounds of it speaks to me of a lot of openness of Indians interested in the world, which is not a typical Indian trait, like you go for work, but there's a genuine interest in another culture and connecting in an artistic level there. And are you aware of other examples? Because I can't offhand think, and this is just a coincidence, but
Yeah, I've seen that film.
have?
I saw it in India, and yeah, it is also this
artistic quest, right?
essay kind of in another
Yes,
Indian in
person.
another country and so on.
Yeah.
Am I aware of others like that? No,
You know,
I'm
because Indians, I find Indians by and large inward looking. At least
Okay.
artistically, not
Right.
adventurous in the artistic sense. For labor, okay, in the Gulf, or techie guys, these are kind of 2-3 broad, or education, yeah. But artistic quest is relatively rare. So I was just asking if you think of any.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
but yeah, I think like, yeah, it's true that in documentary that there's maybe not that much incredible diversity in
Yeah.
Indian cinema, and but things are changing, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us what happened after the big 10-year love story with Poland.
Yeah, well then, time to move back, baby.
Why? How come?
It felt like a chapter had kind of ended.
Okay.
And I also feel like there's a lot to do in India.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's a good moment for Indian cinema,
It is.
and
it is.
it's exciting for that reason.
So nice. So in a way, the film has also come a full circle along with your life, in a way, kind of.
Because that is how it is because when you make a film, even if it's a fiction or documentary or whatever, it's like such a big chunk of your life.
It is.
And whether it's about you or about somebody else, it's always so personal.
Yes.
And like for me it is like that when it indicates a new chapter.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So very delighted. So he has some more screenings. I wish you good luck in your screenings. I hope it's seen all over the world, and very grateful for your time.
Thank you,
very
Meenakshi.
much,
You're the
Arjun.
best.
Thank you so much.